here to Market Watcher Scott Martin. First off, on the Amazon thing, if you don't mind indulging me here, this could be a game changer for people who up to now have been feeling skittish about buying at least clothes on Amazon because it's such a pain in the neck to deal with that if they're the wrong size, etc.
They must have been watching me at home, Neil, because I can't tell you, and I will never admit how many outfits I put on in the morning before I find that one that just fits me perfectly and makes me look so good as I do now. So this is great.
So this is the one you
Amazon.
settled on for today. This is the one you said, that's it, this is it.
Maybe a little questionable, I do see myself now, and I'm regretting my choice. But that notwithstanding, Amazon will use this, Neil, to just gather more information about you, what you like and what you don't like, so they can further their marketing drive and record more revenue and sales. I love it.
All right, so what do you make of the fact that Uber separately now is looking at maybe upheaval on the boardroom? Tracy Cross has more on this, but then I want to go back to you about the impact of all of this. Talk that the head of Uber, the guy who founded the whole thing, is out. Tracy, what can you tell us?
Travis Kalanick is no longer behind the wheel as CEO of Uber after top investors revolted and asked the embattled CEO to step down. He resigned yesterday. However, Kalanick will remain on the board and likely continue to be a big presence in the company since he still retains control of a majority of Uber's voting shares. Kalanick had been gaining voting rights power at Uber through employee share sales, but it's unclear how much voting power, if any, he will have moving forward. The shareholders have demanded that Kalanick support a board-led search committee for his replacement, and as a member of the board, he will have the ability to influence Uber's direction as the company cleans up its corporate image. Uber's board said in a statement, Travis has always put Uber first. This is a bold decision and a sign of his devotion and love for Uber. By stepping away, he's taking the time to heal from his personal tragedy while giving the company room to fully embrace this new chapter in Uber's history. We look forward to continuing to serve with him on the board. Now, here is what Kalanick said, quote, "I love Uber more than anything in the world, and at this difficult moment in my personal life, I have accepted the investors' request to step aside so that Uber can go back to building rather than be distracted with another fight." That personal tragedy he's referring to, his mother died recently in a boating accident. Now, as for a severance package or a salary for serving on the board, Neil, we don't know what, if anything, Kalanick will receive.
What we do know is the value of his stock would be into the many, many billions if and when this company ever goes public. All right, Tracy, thank you very, very much. Scott Martin on all of that. Scott, what do you think? And can you just sort of put the founder off? I mean, Steve Jobs was pushed into the wilderness before he returned. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I mean, it reminds me of a vice presidential debate where I would say, you know, Travis Kalanick is no Steve Jobs, Senator. But I'll tell you what's funny is, you know, with respect to the valuation that Trace was talking about, the question remains, you know, being a private company, Neil, is the company still worth $70 billion? That was the latest kind of valuation that was thrown out there, because to me, the company has suffered a lot under Kalanick's leadership, and frankly, they've been encroached upon from competitors as far as market share. So there's also this little lawsuit out there from Google, which is their Waymo division, their self-driving car division, about $40 billion, where they are accused of stealing trade secrets. So you have a lot of things out there with the company that I think are deteriorating it by the second. So Kalanick stepping out is a great thing, but who wants to step in there is anybody's guess.
You know, and I also think, and I've seen this in history too, in the interim, there's a brain drain. People leave the company or they're not quite convinced. Some of them might be locked in because they own shares that once and if the company goes public, it will be worth obviously a lot of money and make them a real lot of money. But that's something you have to worry about, right?
It is. And I'll tell you what else is interesting. I mean, Uber really feels like that company that, dare I say, has run off the road or is driverless at this point, not only from the CEO side, but the CFO and many other executives have left. And nowadays, Neil, a compensation in Silicon Valley is very interesting. When you step in as a major executive of these companies, you get stock more than you get salary.
That's true.
And most of the stock that Uber has to give is, in my opinion, falling in value as these scandals come out, as the reorganization now is happening. So if you're going to entice somebody like Sheryl Sandberg, for example, you're going to give her something that maybe is falling in value. It just seems like a tall ask right now for the company, where this is going to be a big undertaking for somebody to come in and turn this thing around.
You know, well, another thing, Scott, I mean, if you think about it, it was the anti-taxi cab company, right? It was an anathema to the industry. It took over the industry by defying all conventional rules that went with it. But now imitating that industry, or trying to assuage critics by, in this latest offering, trying to maybe get tips for their drivers and all, might make sense, might make the drivers happy. But distinguishing between it and a traditional cab company or a limousine service, it's blurring, right?
It is. And I'll tell you, a lot of the strangles they've had, Neil, with local governments over problems that they've had with the fact they don't have to register. The Uber drivers don't pass a background check like some of your medallion taxi drivers do, or your limo drivers. So there's a lot of things that the company, and I'll give Kalanick a lot of credit. There's a lot of things that he and a co-founder, Ryan Graves, who's like a surfer dude who's not even really in the picture much anymore, but congratulations to those guys for starting a great disruptive company, as you mentioned. There's a lot of ways that they found to bypass a lot of those rules and regulations, but now it appears that's kind of catching up to them. And you got a $70 billion company now that was very small a few years ago. Right. It just seems like Kalanick and some of his other guys lost control of it, and now they're trying to clean the mess up that maybe they weren't paying attention to that was accruing.
In the first place, yeah. All right, Scott, thank you very, very much. A fine outfit today. I don't care what you're saying about it.
Thank you, sir.
Good seeing you. All right, in the meantime.